What if I told you that John Anderton in the Minority Report was the one who created the pre-crime system in his own mind? What if your future is being predicted based on the patterns of your past, and until you break free, you're trapped? In the Minority Report, John Anderton is the head of the pre-crime division, and he's one of its biggest advocates because he himself seeks revenge on the man who took his son years ago. He's also the favorite of the founder, Lamar Burgess, who has plans for Anderton to be his successor. So when Anderton ends up being a target of the pre-crime system for killing a man he's never met, John is convinced that the system is wrong. He sets out to prove it wrong. That is until he comes face to face with the man who killed his son. It's revealed that this man is an imposter. He didn't take John's son. He was paid to lie to implicate John in a pre-crime so Lamar could continue doing his dirty work. You see, Lamar had committed a crime and bugged the system to cover it up so he could continue using one of the precogs to predict crimes. John was getting too close to this truth. But what is hidden in the subtext of this movie is that John himself created the pre-crime system in his own mind, and Lamar was a projection of John's need for revenge. Lamar represents God. When we externalize God, we believe we are at the mercy of fate, because fate is our subconscious script. This is how the system is able to predict what we do before we do it. The system is you, and you cannot escape your fate until you make a different decision. The pre-crime system was created by John inside John's head the moment his son was taken, because he believed that if he could have known that this was going to happen, he could have stopped it. Now, this is not going to be in the movie, and if you're a literalist, my film decodes will not satisfy you. I discuss film, TV, and news events from an esoteric perspective, showing you that all things in life are projections of you. They are telling a singular story, the story of the separation and reunification of the divine masculine and feminine, or if you prefer, the separation of man from God. When John's son was taken from the pool, John blamed himself because he had taken his eyes off of him for just a second and he was gone. In that moment, he wanted to get his son back and he wanted revenge. He was not aware of this need for revenge, however, until confronted by the man he believed took and killed his son. Anderton faces an excruciating inner battle to restrain himself from acting out the script that the system detected. He knows he's not a killer, and yet he can't resist his own pain. The struggle he's having isn't about not killing this man, it's about having the courage to make a different choice. The man is a projection of John. He represents John's shadow, because all these years, John outwardly believed that he blamed the man who took his son, but truthfully, he blamed himself. This forced John to face himself as someone who had the potential to be as bad as the man who took his son, because if he too was willing to kill, then how different can he be? This man proved to be an imposter, just as John, blaming himself, was an imposter. It wasn't John's fault. John had the choice of either weaponizing his pain or healing his pain. Taking this man's life would not heal his pain, it would only perpetuate it. Despite being uncertain of this man's true identity, John chose not to kill him. The illusion of the pre-crime system was lost for him now. So John faced Burgess with the flaw in his own pre-crime system. If John could subvert the system by choosing differently, anyone could. Therefore, no one was guilty of a crime he did not yet commit. Just like you. The climax of the story takes place on the rooftop. Knowing that Burgess is about to kill him, Anderton confronts Burgess. John warns Lamar to make a different decision so he can alter his future. John managed to go against the system, his own script, by not killing the imposter. But Burgess, as the owner of pre-crime, is the man in charge of reinforcing all the scripts. He's the man John created to be in charge of John, which is why Burgess is his boss, aka God. In our reality, we believe in an all-powerful, all-seeing God who punishes when we do wrong. We also believe that certain events are fated or meant to be. And if you follow my work, you're familiar with the men in black, the red men, or the men in hats that keep us in line when we try to go off script. These beings are projections of your fear and limiting beliefs. They keep you trapped in your limited perspective known as your story of who you believe yourself to be. On that rooftop, Lamar faced John, mirrors of one another. But now John was taking over from Lamar. Lamar is John's old self, the man in charge of John's old story, because Lamar was forcing him to run his old script of revenge by maintaining a broken system of holding someone accountable for his actions before he made them. And John didn't believe that story anymore. Lamar, confronted with his failure, could not survive in John's world, so he had to kill himself. The old man also represents the old story. The old story holds you hostage because you are bound by the story in which you live. When you are faced with making a decision that you have dealt with many times in your life, and you continue to make the same decision again and again, because you believe your own internal pre-crime system, you trap yourself in your own lies. The lies are the story that you tell yourself as to why you can't choose differently. When you come face to face with your deepest fears and you know your past, you have to fight the urge to follow the script. And at every moment, you have an opportunity to choose differently. Finally, John set himself free of his own story of revenge, his own fear and guilt over the death of his son, and he could now open his heart to love again. Like John Anderton, you can only leave by making a different decision, and in making that decision, you kill the old man and you end the pre-crime system, because the pre-crime system is built on predicting your future based on the script you were running in that old story that you are no longer in. If you want to see how your life mirrors these hidden patterns to find the story that's been holding you hostage, join my 2-day Symbolic Intelligence mini class. Links are below.